Welcome back to the Boiling Point Podcast. We are on episode 71. What a year. And making his triumphant return is senior political correspondent Gavin Whitcomb Jr. It's been a little while since he was able to be on, and it's great to have him back. We're going to be discussing this year and a lot of different stuff that happened. So stay tuned. Make sure you please leave us a comment, share it out, and of course, coming in the new year, Gavin and I will be covering the elections, the midterm elections. We'll be doing it all year long. Once a month, we'll be doing an episode covering either a race, or at least in January and February, possibly a couple of different races around the country. So please look for those. And of course, it's always important to get out and vote.
Yep, please vote.
Yep. Gavin, welcome back to the Boiling Point Podcast. It's good to have you here and have
Thanks.
you here in person.
Good to be here.
Also, make sure you go visit our storefront, bonfire.com/store/the Boiling Point Podcast. Pick yourself up a t-shirt, the American Cross, which I am currently wearing. And we have lots of other shirts. We have beanie hats. It's wintertime. We have sweatshirts, hoodies. So get yourself, and it's all great quality clothing.
Yeah, it's all very comfortable.
Yeah.
I haven't had one. I'm not wearing it right now because I actually do wear them. They're comfortable. I don't just wear them for the podcast. I enjoy wearing them because they're comfortable. The long sleeve is warm, but it's not too warm. It breathes. It's great. So they're in the hamper at the moment.
Yeah,
and I didn't realize it till.
That's okay. And they are good quality. Go get yourself one, and then give us a picture so we can share it on social media, if you are willing to do that. And you can follow me on Instagram at JDEDESIGNz. That's with a Z. And of course, Facebook. You can follow us, The Boiling Point Podcast, and rumble.com/C/The Boiling Point Podcast. And that is all the places we are. And we're on YouTube, but who cares?
Yeah.
So what a year it's been.
Yes. Personally, for me, it's been a great year. Been blessed by God a lot. I mean, just, doing well in my job. Got a permanent position on the service department. And they worked with me on a lot of different things and really helped me out, and things are going really well, and I'm learning a lot of new things and have a lot of great teachers, so it's kind of a fast track to something even better.
Good.
So that's really great. So the Lord's provided with finances. My son got his first deer.
Yes.
That was pretty cool.
And
it was a funny story.
And Pastor Gavin also got one too.
Pastor Gavin. My dad got a trophy buck. The thing was huge. I told him to bring it over to my house so I could help him. And my goodness, it was only a 7-point, but it was very mature. It was big. Yeah,
you can tell that from the pictures.
Oh.
We'll put one up for everybody. We'll put the picture up of Pastor Gavin and his deer, so you're taking a look at it right now while we're talking about it.
I strung it up. I usually string up my deer in between this. It's like an 8-foot step ladder, and it works great. He wouldn't even fit because he was so tall. Like, he was so long. He was just a big boy. I mean, he was big. Now, some of the reason it took a long time to skin was I wanted Dad's cape to be in great condition in case he wanted to get something done with it.
Yeah.
So I took extra time with skinning, but it took us a while. I mean, it was a lot of work.
Yeah, I mean, if I got
a lot of meat,
I'd want the skin too.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Now Keegan doesn't know this, but his cape is at a tanner's. Mary and I are going to start doing it ourselves as a hobby for the both of us to do together.
Yeah.
Somebody gave us theirs because they didn't want it. They didn't have time they're not going to spend the money on it. So we're going to try our hand at doing that. Make blankets of it. And I'm learning more and more of different ways you can save almost everything.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's great. I mean, when you're hunting, that's one thing that I believe in, even though I don't really get to go hunting for many different reasons. But it's important to use the whole animal, you know what I mean? We're not hunters for sport.
Right.
You know, we want the meat off of it, you know, and whatever else can be used, we want to use it. So
yep.
We're not wasteful hunters. We're, you know, real hunters.
Right. Like somebody from work, they took the neck of their deer and boiled it down in a crock pot. I did the same thing with Keegan's, and I didn't know he was doing it, but he made me some deer salad, and I made the same stuff. Mine was a little bit different. You cook it in a crock pot, and it just shreds right off. And then you make it like you would ham salad or tuna salad.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can add whatever you want. Like mine had mushrooms and onions. His had, you know, celery and stuff, and they're both delicious.
Yeah.
And the kids ate it up.
Yeah.
I barely got to have any.
Yeah.
But it's good. You know, it's been a good year. Some from our church has a bunch of wood, cords and cords and cords and cords, and instead of selling it to me, they just told me keep coming and getting it. So my furnace hasn't kicked on more than a couple times in
You got
over
a fireplace?
Well, we put a wood stove.
Oh, wood stove.
Yeah,
Nice.
and it's a different kind of heat. You know, it's all the ache in your bones and your tendons and stuff. It gets it right out.
I like the I used to live in the house in Boiling Springs. You were there.
Yeah.
The coal stove.
The coal stove.
I always loved the coal stove.
Great.
It was, it was.
It doesn't dry your sinuses out.
Nope.
It's a radiant heat.
Yeah, it goes into your bones. You can feel it like all the way to your bones, and that's one of the problems that I have, especially in the wintertime, is when it's cold. It goes. I can feel it all the way into my bones. And coal stoves, wood stoves, they radiate, you know, heat in a way that just, you know, goes all the way through your body.
Right, and like right off the bat, I have a friend, Ben. He watches the show from time to time.
That's always good to
hear.
hear.
Having a house built, and he's like, "Hey man, you know, we downed some trees down here." I said, "What are they?" He said, "Some kind of hardwood." I'm like, "I'll cut it up. I'll get it." I mean, it's a lot of work, but the reward is great.
Yeah.
You know, and I would suggest that since we lost our energy independence this year, and you know the price of fuel is outrageous. If you're able to put in a wood stove. I would. Coal stove, well, maybe a wood stove.
Yeah, probably a wood stove. I mean, coal stoves are nice because they give off that same kind of radiating heat. But
you might get hard to get coal at some point.
Yeah, it's.
But if you have a coal stove, you can burn wood in it. It's just not the other way around. It's not a good idea to burn coal in a wood stove because the thickness of the metal isn't the same, and you can get it so hot that it warps. If it's not rated for that.
Yes, because coal burns much hotter. Than wood. Yeah. I mean, much substantially hotter.
So I would prepare in those ways. So as you can tell from my conversation about what we're doing with meat and we canned a bunch of deer meat. What we're doing with hides and even bones. Drawing nutrients from marrow, you know, wood stove, cutting, all that stuff. We're going back in time and learning the old ways in order to prepare.
Yeah, just in case, you know, inflation and stuff, you know, and that's where, you know, we'll shift into, you know, the real world now and or what the rest of the world now, not the real world. I mean, your world is obviously real,
right? But I know what you mean. You have your own little bubble that's your world, and then you have the outside world where it's like, man, this sucks. Yeah. You know, but then you have your own little bubble where God's with you, and God blesses you, and God especially has His hand on you and your family, and it's like, man.
And that's an excellent segue into, you know, my year has been a little bit rougher than previous years. You know, there's been some things personally around the house and stuff that you're aware of that have changed. So, and that certainly made, you know, what I do a little bit more difficult. Doing the podcast and continuing to produce content, it's been more difficult this year than the first year when I started it, due to a lot of different things. But, you know, God's been with me. I've been still, you know, just grinding out the episodes, making good episodes. Yep. And even with the market, and we're going to get to that in a minute with inflation being off the charts, and we're also going to talk about why inflation is off the charts, because there's some people out there that don't really understand why and what inflation is.
They don't understand economics, period.
Yes. So we're going to do our best to explain to you a little bit about that. But even my stocks, because a year before I started the podcast, I started investing in stocks. And even though the market and everything is down, this year, it's not been a great year for the market. Don't let anybody fool you. It has not been a great year in the market, okay? But the stocks that I own are not doing terrible. They're not doing
good.
Bad.
Good.
And as soon as it rebounds, because everything went down, I was able to buy some stuff when it's cheaper. So,
right.
Assuming we get the economy and everything back on track, and everything rebounds, then it puts me in a position to maybe be at least more financially secured in the future.
Right.
So even though it's been a rough year, it's been like a setup year too.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, I've been blessed a lot, but this year hasn't been without a lot of challenges.
Oh yeah.
And God allows you to go through challenges.
Yeah.
So to strengthen you, hard times make strong men. And I'm trying to bring my son up that way.
Yeah.
I make him work, around the house. I make him carry logs. Hey, fill up the wood crib. Sometimes I help him. Sometimes I do it myself. And other times I'm like, my wife will just be like, let your dad have a rest. He's been working hard. You go fill the wood crib up. And he does.
Yeah.
So it's good to struggle. You don't build muscle if you don't struggle and tear it down.
Yep.
So I think sometimes, us as believers and just people in general, when rough things happen to us, don't feel that God's abandoned you or isn't, we don't serve some pagan God where,
now we have to
sacrifice something and pay it to
a virgin.
or whatever. No, it's a lot of times he's just letting you go through something difficult to bring you out stronger and closer to him. Yeah. So
even to teach you something. Sometimes it's important to try and look for why is it happening? Is there a reason? Maybe there's a lesson you need to be learning, perhaps.
Right. Like for example, with me, before I worked where I work, I didn't make a lot of money, and so when something would go wrong with my car, I'd either have to ask my dad to help me, or I'd have to fix it myself. Like, I'd either say, Dad, can I borrow some money? Or I'd just get the parts and fix it myself. And because of that, I can't do everything. Like, I can't rebuild an engine.
Yeah.
I could if I had the time.
Yeah.
But now I'm to the point where, my alternator was going out on the way home from Maryland working one day. And I knew it was going out. I could tell what was problem, and as long as I kept some RPMs, I have a manual so it's easier to do this.
Yeah.
As long as I kept the RPMs up, I was able to keep just the alternator just sending just enough power to the battery. You know what I mean?
So you
to make it to an AutoZone, and then I went in there, got an alternator, went out, and within 20 minutes had it on and the belt on and everything on, and it was good, and drove home.
Nice.
So, but if I had not been in that situation before and struggled with it, I would have known how to do it again.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what, God gives you struggles so that you can head off things down the road, or so that they don't become struggles in the future when you encounter them.
Right.
Certainly. And, I think we both had been like a similar year, successful in some ways. And also, it's been hard in others, obviously, learning something and being prepared for what's to come in the future. So let's talk about, while I have a few stocks that are doing good, because there are still some companies that are doing good. So there are some stocks that are doing good, but there's a lot of it that the market is down as a whole. With a lot of different sectors being down, and that's due to inflation.
Yeah, and some of the reasons that the market's doing so well is that, if you have the Federal Reserve feeding the market with money to keep it afloat, then it's not kind of artificial doctoring of the market only leads to a worse catastrophic destruction.
Yeah. That happened in 2020. That's when the Federal Reserve was just printing money and also handing it out. Those stimuluses. Go research that stimulus. Look at how much money the people got, and look at how much some businesses and some companies got. Because that stimulus wasn't for us.
No.
That was just what we got money just to keep us quiet.
Right. Yep. And the weird thing is that the Fed was pumping money into the markets, into the banks, before the shutdowns, before COVID hit hard.
But that would have been under Trump then, right?
Yeah, but he doesn't control what they do.
Yeah.
You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The Federal Reserve isn't federal.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Yeah, you're right. The executive branch doesn't oversee the Federal Reserve. They do operate independently. Yeah. Yeah, that is correct.
It's like another unelected arm of, like, branch of the government that we didn't ask for.
Yeah.
I didn't ask for it.
Yeah.
You know.
Yes.
It's not. They're completely independent of the Department of Treasury.
Yeah.
It's a very powerful institution that really needs to just go away.
Yeah.
Along with a whole bunch of alphabet agencies full of bureaucrats.
Yeah. Yes. And yes, they did print money. The stimulus compounded. And the stimulus was under President Trump too. Not everything is President Biden, but everything President Biden has done has made it worse.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
President Trump did he did some things during COVID that I didn't agree with. You know what I mean? I think he did some good things during his presidency, but during COVID thing, I don't think there's some things that I don't agree that he did. You know, I think he kept the lockdowns in place for too long. I think he bowed to peer pressure on that one and just left. I mean, the 2-week thing, the initial 2-week thing, fine. I get that. We don't know. Sense. We don't know anything. There's this thing spreading through the country. We don't know what the death rate is or anything.
Right.
I get the first 2 weeks. That's fine. But as soon as, you know, in that 2 weeks, a lot of people were sick too, and we also got the data we needed to understand it. So after the first 2 weeks, that should have been the end of the lockdowns.
And then, you know, when you have a criminal injecting themselves into the investigation, you know, it makes things very difficult. And I don't want to say who the criminal is, but then one of the things that Trump allowed to happen was he allowed somebody to oversee and be the figurehead, the spokesperson for what we should do.
Yeah.
And the guy is a criminal. He's a mad...
Would you like me to say it? Because I don't have a problem with saying who it is.
Oh, wait, you're not worried about YouTube?
No, I'm not worried about YouTube. Yeah. I mean, even if I take one of the a segment from this episode and put it on YouTube, I'm not I don't worry about that anymore.
Right.
Like I don't usually separate. Like I'll find a place to separate the episodes, but I don't do a whole this is where we're ending on YouTube usually much anymore. Right. But yeah, no, it's Dr. Fauci is who we're talking about right now. The criminal Dr. Fauci. I am science.
Yeah. I am science.
Yeah.
No, you failed during the AIDS epidemic, and you're failing again.
Yes.
And nobody remembers who you are.
Research Dr. Fauci. Look at his history because yes, he failed during the AIDS epidemic as well, and because he serves his own agenda. He doesn't give a shit about you. He doesn't care.
No.
He's serving his own agenda right now, just like he did in the 80s. He doesn't care about any of that. I can't believe I didn't even know who he was, and then when I found out, I'm like, why the hell did Trump appoint this idiot?
And that's why, like if Trump runs, I'll vote for him.
Yeah,
but there's that reason. He went along with them too much with the COVID lockdowns and the vaccine. Went along with them too much.
And that is unusual though, because that would have been like his whole presidency. They tried to impeach him and like so much stuff, and he just kept like going against him, and then finally
he loves the American people and didn't want them to get
and they
sick.
Scared the shit out of him. That's what happened. Dr. Fauci scared the crap out of him.
Right. So and then you have, you know, the left's bill to make it illegal for anyone under that you had to be 21 to buy a gun.
Yeah.
You know, he signed that into law. That's ridiculous. How's that going to stop anything?
And speaking of that, Kyle, there you go, Kyle Rittenhouse.
Right.
That would have prevented him from
defending himself.
From being able to defend himself. Yeah, he'd be dead.
So, and then, the bump stock ban after the Mandalay Bay shooting, which
was just, again, pressure. You're right. It was just pure pressure.
Yeah. And that, so he caved in areas where it really mattered.
Yeah.
And don't get me wrong, and I'm not bashing him. He did a lot of good.
Yeah, he did.
And I'm grateful for all of it.
Yeah.
And I even liked the way he talked after a while, because I realized that he was just trying to get them to freak out. And it worked every time.
Yes.
It was really brilliant. At first I thought he was just a bombastic, blowhard.
Me too. I was like, man, why can't you just be presidential,
right.
President
Trump? Because,
you could sway some people if you were just presidential. And then I watched a week's worth of press conferences. Every day I watched when he would do a press conference, I watched it. And I would be like, after day one, after the first press conference, I was like, how does he maintain composure?
Right.
I would have freaked out on day one. I would have been screaming at people.
Right.
I mean, and people don't realize it. Go watch the press conferences. They did it intentionally. There's no way they didn't do it intentionally. They're either idiots.
No,
or they did it intentionally.
Everything they did,
because you can't ask. Asking somebody the same question, but just in a different way, 4 or 5 times, that would drive me nuts. So no wonder he went. He was doing it right. You were driving him nuts. So he was just doing shit to get right back at you.
He was like the #1 troll, and it was great. It was great. So, but I really, I know Florida needs DeSantis, but I would really like to see Governor DeSantis run, because he's got all the cool stuff. He's stood up for the Bill of Rights. He's stood up for the Constitution. He stood up for the people of Florida, and has been, an example of executive leadership.
Yeah.
Intentionally doing things that gives his branch less power over the people, so that people have better lives. You don't see that too often. There's only a few governors around. Kristi Noem, Dakota, she was great, but he really stands out.
Yeah. And
he doesn't have all that bombastic.
Yeah, he's more presidential.
He's not on Twitter all the time, and
I think he would be. I think he would be good. And I also like and maybe one of these guys is his vice president, but I like Dan Crenshaw as well. Now he is not. I don't think he's a governor.
No, he's a congressman.
Yeah, he's a congressman, so he doesn't have. I don't know if he has the executive experience necessarily, but that's what I'm saying. Maybe as a vice president. But I like Dan Crenshaw and Jim Jordan also. I like Jim Jordan also.
Yeah, but. And
of course, not that you can take all the great players from where they are to the White House.
The last person I would want to leave the Senate and go for anything else
is Jim Jordan.
Well, no.
Is
like Senator Cruz.
Oh yeah.
I don't want Ron. I don't want Rand Paul to leave.
Yeah.
They need to stay where they are. Now, the only place I'd like to see Cruz go, other than where he is right now, is to the Supreme Court, because he's a constitutional lawyer.
Yeah,
he's argued cases.
Did you see? I saw a story where because the Democratic Party doesn't think Biden is going to be able to run in 2024, despite the fact that he is saying that he's going to run again. I've seen rumors that the Democrats don't think he can run again, and also they don't think that.
I don't.
What's her face? The communist that he chose as his second. Is they don't think she can win.
No,
of course she can't win. That's why she lost the Democratic primary. You idiots.
Yeah, she can't even get the black vote, and I mean they can't stand her, and she keeps acting like she's an African American.
Yeah,
she's not. She's not even part of that culture.
Yeah.
So.
And she was also a terrible governor.
She was an attorney general. She was a prosecutor.
I'm sorry. You're right. Absolutely. I'm sorry. I had it wrong. You're right. It was not a governor.
She sent lots of black males to prison.
Yes.
For very small crimes.
Yes. Well, and then she went on to try and say that was terrible.
Yes.
That it happens in this country. But yeah, anybody can. That's what I'm saying. People need to look, and when in the next year during the coming up to the elections, research the people who are running. Look into their history. It matters. It really does. I think that's important.
Yeah. So we have massive inflation from all these ridiculous spending. And
not just from Trump, but Biden. Everything Biden has done has just caused the increase, especially the oil, especially gas prices.
Right.
Killing the pipeline.
You shut down pipelines, and he wants to shut down Pipeline 5 out in the Midwest, which would be just devastating for the whole country, especially in the Midwest. All in the name of saving the planet, which
is ridiculous. Yes.
But meanwhile,
people are
boosting support, getting support for Russia's pipeline.
Yeah.
So you want to cut our pipeline and then help Russia get theirs up and going, so that they can,
sell us the oil.
Put a noose around Europe's neck.
That's
and basically what that is.
Have control over us too, because if we don't produce it ourselves, then we'll have to buy it from somewhere.
Right. And it's so embarrassing having the president begging, Saudi Arabia and OPEC to lower their prices for us. It's like, it's not how the market works.
Yeah.
Why would we pump more oil when you pump your own oil?
Damn right. Exactly. That's exactly right. Absolutely. It's the way he shut everything down. And our ports are a mess because of the COVID shutdowns, and people think that that all the shortages that are happening across the U.S. is from COVID. It has nothing to do with COVID. No. It has to do with
it's not from a shortage of truck drivers either.
No.
There's just as many truck drivers. The only thing that they can say, there's a lot of turnover with truck driving. People get into it and then they don't like it. They leave because it sucks. It's not a fun life.
No.
You either like it or you don't.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no in between. Like, I'll do this for a while. Because it's a commitment. And you got to run it hard if you want to make any money. So, and so it's not the truck driver's fault when they go to the port because they're trying to pick up goods and they got to wait all day long.
Yep. And
just to get one can, because there's not enough people working at the ports to unload the ships. And then Biden's solution to that, right? Get this. Biden's solution to that was to fine the companies $100 a day for each crate, right? So millions of dollars.
Yeah.
Well, where do you think that money's going to land?
Yeah.
It's not going to land. They've already said that, we have no choice but to raise our prices. It'll be that fine will go on to the consumers.
Yeah.
It's like they're intentionally trying to make capitalism fail.
Yes.
Just so that they can say, see, capitalism has failed you.
Yeah.
No, you're screwing it up.
Yeah, government interference screws up capitalism.
You found the invisible hand of the market and you're holding it back and not letting it go because you understand how it works. So you're ruining it on purpose so that you can bring in your weird globalist, it's sort of Marxist but more fascist, nonsense. And so
yes, and yes, that is the goal. They want social. They want the government to support the people. They don't want free market to support the people. Now, because there's some people out there. Inflation. Why does inflation happen?
Well, inflation happens because your money becomes devalued. Now, what would make your money become devalued? Well, if you have a lot of spending, or you're just printing money like crazy just to put it in people's pocket and flooding the market with money, and that money has not yet come back. When it comes back, oh my goodness, kaboom.
Yeah.
That's what inflation is. And when it gets really bad, the way it happened in Germany before Hitler took control, people were burning their money to start their fires. It was a common joke in Germany that if you bought a cup of coffee, you should buy two, because when you go to buy the next cup, the price has changed.
Yeah.
Gone up, because your money is worthless because of printing money. Printing. Yeah. Well, the modern monetary theory. Just print all the money.
Yeah.
It says it's valuable because it is, and it won't affect anything.
Yep.
No. And then all the wage gains that went up.
Yeah.
They're all wiped out by the inflation amount. So like, I make $15 an hour now that working at McDonald's, and I'm basically making the same.
Yep.
Because everything costs.
Yeah, and you're still living in your mom's basement.
Right.
Because you don't have enough money to get your own place, because inflation has caused everything to go up. And it's not just gas, goods, housing, everything has been going up. And it's likely to continue for a while. I don't know if the market will adjust itself. The market always adjusts itself. Will it crash?
Unless it's continually fooled with.
True.
It can't.
True. Also, I was going to say, with apps like Robinhood, like, the everyday person now has access to the market in a way that they have never had before, ever. I mean, and that's the other thing. That's the other reason why, and people I don't think understand this, is that even though inflation should bring the market down. And the market is down, but it doesn't look like it's down as much as it should be, and it's not. And I think that's because of when you add 20 million new people to the market, who even small amounts, even $1,000 amounts, we got 20 million people to the marketplace. That's going to hold everything up. But again, it's just temporary. The market always adjusts.
Everything's a temporary fix, temporary Band-Aid.
Yeah, the market will eventually recorrect itself.
But my concern is that, because they're intentionally collapsing everything, that they'll, and they're already starting to say that capitalism has failed. This is the result of failed capitalism. It only works for a certain period of time, and blah blah blah, and it fails. No, you're failing it. Yeah, you're destroying it. It's like going out and intentionally running your car into a tree and getting out and say, "See, cars don't work. They're not safe." Yeah. Well, no, you idiot. You drove it into the tree. You did it on purpose. Yeah. So
now I do, because I even know some people personally who think that that what we need in this country is capitalism with some socialism structure, with some socialism sprinkled in, if you will.
We already have that.
Yeah, we do.
That's what we have.
But what can you let anybody who doesn't understand? Because they don't see it. They don't understand what it is. They don't see that part because it doesn't affect them. They want the socialism that affects them. They want to receive a check in the mail from Jeff Bezos, who's a billionaire. That's the type of socialism they want.
That's absurd.
Of course it's absurd.
I mean, it wouldn't even work.
But can you explain why? Because there are people who really think that. There are people who really think that socialism means I'm going to get a big check from Jeff Bezos, from Bill Gates every month. That's a percentage of what they make to bring me up. I'm really not lying. There are people who think this. There are. I know some of them. So Can you explain why that is not how it works? That's not even how it works. Not just that socialism doesn't work, but that is not what it's going to be when socialism even is enacted. They're not going to get a check in the mail from this person because they're billionaires.
The billionaire. Well, let's start with the fact that if you took all the money, every cent from every billionaire in America, it would fund the government programs for less than a year. So there's that. So let's say every American... Okay, I mean, it's just simple math. I mean, what do you want to check for? 3 cents? What? Like, there's 350 million people plus illegal aliens.
That's what people don't understand.
So they don't understand. You're not going to get anything. All that will happen is that they'll completely go bankrupt. Their company will just completely be destroyed. and then you won't get anything. That it'll be run by the state if it's useful, like Amazon is.
Yeah.
It'll be seized by the state, and then
the new
your
U.S.
packages,
Postal Service.
Yeah, your packages won't get there on time. You won't have any money to buy any packages because you'll be living under socialism, and it will collapse because we're starting ours with a lot of debt. So
yeah.
I'm having a hard time explaining how that won't work because it's absolutely absurd. It's like somebody.
Well,
it's like somebody dropped acid and was just talking
Yeah.
and was thinking about it, like not like actually.
Yeah. All right. All right. Well, you did fine. I think you did fine. Because it is hard to comprehend how people don't understand how it won't work, because it is simple math.
Like there's
if I own a company, and the government tells me, and I earn money from this company, I get money from this company, I reinvest money into this company, and then the government tells me that I now have to take half of what my company gets, or what I get personally, and give it away to the government to redistribute.
There's no incentive.
Why would I continue to work hard?
Right.
If half my money's gone? Why? That's what people don't realize. People are like, well, billionaires don't need to get richer. Well, do they need to get richer? Maybe not necessarily. But what drives people is motivation, and what people want is more money.
Yeah.
So that's
and the thing is that the person that's being greedy is the person that wants that hardworking person, successful person's money.
Also, let's
you don't want to work for your money. You don't want to come up with something grand and new and helpful to society.
Yeah, you just want their money. Exactly.
That's called being a freeloader and a bum.
Yeah.
So I apologize if I've hurt anybody's feelings who thinks that way, but maybe get.
And I like the Ben Shapiro argument too. I have a pencil company, and I invested all my money to get the equipment to do it, and the graphite. You know what I mean? And it's my money that pays for the labor to do these things.
Right.
Who should get more of a return for their money? The guy who invested his money and took all the risk, or the person who can put graphite into a pencil? Why do they get reward for just being able to put graphite into a pencil? When I'm the one that took the risk to invest my money into the equipment, into the building, into the insurance, into the labor. That's where it is. It's all about people want money. You want something for nothing. That's why socialism doesn't work, because you want something from people who have worked for it. Well, if you start taking things from the people who work for it, they have no incentive to work for it.
Right. And in a country this size, see, and the reason, and they keep using Sweden and Denmark as examples, and even though the leaders of Sweden and Denmark have come out
and said, please stop saying this.
Stop saying, we tried socialism, it didn't work, it collapsed us, so we started. What they have is really high taxes, okay, and they have more safety nets than we do. They have an extended welfare program. But you have economic freedom. In fact, they're starting to have more economic freedom than we do. But the thing is that there's not a lot of diversity there. They're small countries. They're part of NATO, so they don't have to foot the bill for their defense.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say too. It's easy
when you don't pay for a national defense. Don't get me wrong, they're warriors up there, but
they don't pay for it.
They don't pay for it. And that's what Trump tried to get them to do.
Yeah.
And he was successful in many ways in getting them to pay the minimum amount we set for us to defend them.
Yeah.
Because we're paying for all the bases in Germany and Japan and everywhere else.
And on the opposite side, if we take what we do, where we give the money for other countries' national defenses.
Right.
And then you put us in a socialist thing. It's just going to collapse that much quicker, because we're still sending money overseas, and now you've just killed our ability to make money within the country. So what? That's what I hope people. I hope, and I know someone I know personally that I hope you're watching this. I'm going to share it to you, so make sure that you watch this episode so you get why socialism doesn't work. Because like I said, I have some friends who think that, oh, well, this part of socialism will work. And, well, we have that already. It's called Social Security. And the reason our insurance and our health care system is in such shit right now is because of Obamacare and all these companies that have to stay within states, and which is ridiculous, which is the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard of. A free market that's what if you just open it, if you just left it open and let companies compete against each other, prices would have came down, the strong companies would have survived, the weak companies would have died off, and the market would have settled down. That's what free market is. Yes, is it terrible that companies go out of business? Yes. Oh, it's terrible. Well, it's terrible that companies go out of business.
All private companies go out of business under socialism. That's kind of the point.
Yeah.
So then you're just a worker for the state.
Yeah.
And you don't get to choose what you do.
Yeah.
So let's say somebody really enjoys their job, and they think it's excellent. Somebody might say, well, we're putting you over here and you're going to be in charge of agriculture. Well, I don't know anything about agriculture. I only know this sector.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. That's what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Because that's what happens in socialist countries.
Yeah.
It happened in China. They would take someone who was a surgeon and then send him over and make him a farmer. And he didn't know how to farm.
Yeah.
He didn't know the land.
Yeah.
You're seeing the same thing in South Africa, where they're killing not just white farmers, but black farm owners too. They're killing them, or running them off, burning their farms down, taking their farms, and then they're like, well, now what? Now what do we do? Well, what does that lead to? When you have the government taking over farms, you don't get to eat what you want.
Yep.
And
you also don't get to have a say what's in your food.
Right. Like all the meat packing plants that are starting these. They're trying to.
The pink slime.
No.
Oh, you're talking about something worse.
No, they're
than
trying to go plant based, and
for
those
goodness,
that don't want to go plant based, they're like growing maggots and crickets, and they're going to make them into burgers.
Oh.
I saw the socialists celebrating that. I'm like, you're.
Yeah, because eating animals is murder. Yeah, okay. The same people who are like, meat is murder, are the same people burning down cities.
Right. And then, another thing, sometime there was this lady, I follow this group called Pennsylvania Dutch Traditions and Recipes. And you get a lot of good tips on the old ways and, some of the ways, like having pot pie, making rivels and things like that. I follow it because of that. I get a lot of cool ideas. This guy got a deer, and he shared it. His wife shared it, and she shared it also with like some venison recipes that were Pennsylvania Dutch origin, right? Well, a couple people on there, and they were Democrats, oddly enough, were you're evil and you. Something's wrong with you because you went in to their habitat and killed a defenseless animal. Okay, let me tell you something. They're not defenseless. They're smart. And if you go toe to toe with a buck and he's not happy, he can kill you.
Yeah.
So there's that defenseless thing is.
Yeah.
It's a ridiculous. It's just based on ignorance. They don't know.
Yeah. No, they don't know.
They don't know what goes into hunting. How some days you have easy, some years you have an easy year, other years you're hunting like your life depends on it.
Yeah.
And you give that animal a dignified death. So one of the things that a couple people, including myself, told the people saying these stupid things was, are you a vegetarian? And they're like, no. Okay, so you have no problem with these chickens being raised with this much space to live in, just for the whole cows. Yep, all of them.
Yeah.
And every time you take a bite of chicken, know that chicken lived a miserable life, very short,
was pumped full of hormones,
and then slaughtered in a very undignified way, and all that stuff. And much of it either ground up that you're going to eat or thrown out.
Yeah.
And you don't know what's in it.
Yeah.
You don't know. You weren't there. You don't know how it was cleaned. You don't know if they sprayed anything on it to kill germs, to make it last longer.
Yeah.
Like ammonium hydroxide or whatever.
Yeah.
You don't know anything about it.
Yeah.
All you know is you bought it at the store, or you're buying it at the restaurant, or you're
like that
buying it at McDonald's.
Hamburger.
Yes.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
it's awful. That's disgusting.
But when you're out there hunting,
yeah,
your goal is to be better, smarter than the deer, and anticipate his or her movements to get her, and she dies a dignified death. And then you use as much of it as you can.
Yeah.
And it's good, healthy meat.
Yeah.
And the animal didn't live the whole life in abuse. And those people also don't understand that if we didn't hunt them because we're a modern society, we don't have wolves.
Yeah.
We're not. It's not Montana.
Some populations can grow out of
control. The
deer
would grow out of control, and they would starve. They'd have disease.
There's also
they would
disease.
die.
Yeah.
I mean, it's happened before.
Yeah.
So if you take hunters out of the equation, the only natural predator is coyotes killing fawns, and then your dead deer on the road, and you'll have a heck of a lot more of them.
Yeah.
If there aren't hunters weeding out the herd.
Yeah.
Okay, so they'd all die.
Yeah.
There wouldn't be hardly any of them left.
Yeah.
So the only option would be to pack the forest full of jaguars and
we'll just run down to 7-Eleven and get some jaguars. Run down to Walmart. They got them, right? I mean, Walmart's got everything.
So bring mountain lions in and bring a bunch of wolves in and let them run around.
Yeah.
Then you can go hiking.
Yeah. Then you can go hiking, yes, with the wolves and all the predators. Yeah.
Those people don't live in a reality that
I think
they don't,
and that's what leads me into what I wanted to, because we were talking about a bunch of stuff here, and what a lot of the stuff that we're talking about, we find it easy to understand these things. Also, I think because of our belief system, because of what we believe in,
right?
Because our belief in God, it's easy to understand things when your eyes are already open. And a lot of the people that we're talking about who have problems with killing animals and are okay with the Fed printing money and who want socialism because they
also
it's going
support
to elevate
abortion,
them.
Right?
Yes, while also supporting abortion. Yes, of course. They don't have any values. That's what the problem is, really, isn't it?
Right.
Is that they don't have a set of values in which to build their personality off of, in which to build themselves off of. So really, they have nothing. There's nothing at the core.
Correct. And that, okay, if somebody wants to be a vegetarian, that's good for you.
Yeah.
And especially if you just don't like the idea that something was killed so you can eat. You don't like that, that's fine. But you also spend a lot of time talking about other multiculturalism.
Yeah.
Well, okay, then respect my culture. My culture, we're hunter-gatherers. We were warriors. That's
and Christians.
My ancestry. So respect my culture, and I'll respect yours.
Yeah.
I mean, I respect yours even if you don't respect mine, as long as it doesn't
impede on mine. Exactly.
So me going out in the middle of nowhere and taking a deer down doesn't affect you.
No.
At all.
At all.
At all.
No.
You won't even know it.
No.
Because you should be minding your own dang business.
Yes. Yes. Quit minding everybody else's business and maybe mind your own business a little bit more.
Yeah, focus on you, and then maybe make yourself a better person.
Absolutely, because I think that's also what it is too. Too many people want something for nothing. They don't want to work hard. If we go to socialism, you can't just. We live in a country where you can go out and do whatever you want to do. You can. It doesn't matter. I don't want to hear excuses. You can go out and do whatever you want to do. You can go get training. You can go get a job. Is it hard sometimes to find a job? Yes, I will speak to that wholeheartedly. Because for me to find a job, it must, the planets got to be aligned. Jupiter's got to be in orbit or something. You know what I mean? Like some, It's got to be some stuff happen in order for me to get hired. So I understand it's difficult, okay? But I have reasons why it's difficult.
Right.
Whereas if you're able-bodied and able-minded, there is no excuse.
No.
Whatsoever. And
we're not talking about people going through tough times. That happens.
No, that happens too.
But we're talking about a perpetual lifestyle of not wanting to work, not wanting to excel, not wanting to bring yourself up any higher than down here.
Yes, and if we didn't live in this country in a free market, then not only could I not get a job, or would it be extremely difficult for me to get a job still, but then I wouldn't have a free market to start a podcast.
Well, yeah,
I wouldn't have freedom of speech.
No,
we wouldn't have apps where I can go access the largest stock market in the world and trade with my own money.
What stock market? There wouldn't be one.
That's what I'm exactly.
Not like that.
No,
you certainly wouldn't be allowed to invest.
Absolutely, and that's why it's important, because the free market and what we have here, capitalism, free market, and Christian values are important. Because anybody can succeed if you're willing to work hard. That's all it takes. Time plus effort equals success. That's it.
Like getting good health. Working out at the gym takes effort, and dedication to it. You keep it up, keep going. My dad, I'm really proud of him. He was diagnosed with pre-diabetes several years back, and he works really hard at changing his, he used to lift, but instead of that, he focused more on cardiovascular and diabetes health.
Yeah.
So he eats really well. He doesn't, the guy's almost basically,
and you wouldn't even know it.
And because of that, he's pretty much reversed his diabetes.
Yeah.
For the most part. He can't go back to,
eating
whatever he wants.
But with the right diet, you can head off certain medical problems too with the right diet, of course. And of course, that's also due to our free market, because we have the choice to choose what we want to buy off the shelves in the grocery store, and farmers aren't regulated by the government on what they can grow.
Well, they will be,
but not yet.
Some are.
Yeah, and you're right, with subsidies.
Subsidies.
Yes, with subsidies. And while people think that farm subsidies help farmers, and in a sense, you're right. Farmers who receive subsidies don't go out of business, but they also grow crops that the market necessarily doesn't want,
right? Which
is the problem. Farmers should be growing the market, not subsidies. Which is the problem with the farming in this country, is subsidies.
That's just, we could do a whole podcast
on farming. Yes,
we farming could. And what's wrong with the farming in this country, and what they're doing to farmers,
and with subsidies.
Yeah, and the whole reason, to wrap that up, the whole reason is to take over all the farming and control the food. You control the food, you control the people.
Absolutely.
That's why Bill Gates is the largest farm owner in the United States.
Yes, is he?
Yeah.
That's wonderful. So the largest farm owner is also investing in the vaccination shots you're taking. So just keep that in mind.
BlackRock also is buying up farmland. They're in constant cahoots with the White House, and they're all on board with the Build Back Better. And they're buying houses way more than the asking price, like double. They're buying up houses so that they can invest in the free housing. And see, the whole World Economic Forum 2030 agenda is to move people out of rural areas into walkable cities, and then pack the wilderness with predators, and then everybody eats vegetables grown by the state and nutrition.
Yep, we're controlled,
and that'll end world hunger.
Yes. Of course it will.
And
it may end world hunger, but you won't have any choices.
Yeah, it won't end world hunger. It'll cause more hunger.
Yeah.
And everybody will be equitable.
Yes, we'll all be dying of hunger. You're right.
Yes, we will be. But to quote Animal Farm, all animals are equal, but some animals are more equal than others. So I have a feeling that living in these walkable city communities, the average conservative Christian, Bible-believing Christian won't be treated the same as everyone else.
Yeah.
So,
yes, for all the talk that they have about being accepted, they certainly don't accept too much that they don't agree with.
right.
Which is definitely the problem. We're going to talk about one more thing before we get ready to close. One or two more things before we get ready to close out the episode here. Marcus Frederiksen, the guy who does our music, he passed away this year. We're going to be doing an episode. I'm going to be doing an episode with his sister, which I'll be posting on December 26th. That was his birthday. So his sister's going to come on, and we're going to do an episode about him. We're going to talk about him on that episode. Look for that. But we were going to talk about it because of the way that it happened, the way that we met and stuff, the way he saw the podcasts, and he had the same thing off of Gryposis that I do, and also the fact that we met at the exact moment when you and I were discussing what music are we going to put on this podcast.
Yeah, it was wild.
Because we had done a couple of episodes. We were in the teens, I believe, at that point.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, we need music now. We can't just have this screen. We need to have some kind of entrance and closing. It can't just be this plain old, just a screen up. We got to have something more. And we were talking about what music, free music on the internet and stuff. It's pretty generic. It's pretty crap. And the free music can be used by anybody else too. So you always run the risk of, having the same music as someone else has or something. So, and then he reached out and I found out he was a musician and was like, hey, we need music.
Yeah, that was cool. It was really a godsend. It was helpful, and he has good music.
Yeah.
It's not lame.
No.
He's
he's a good artist. And I did try and get him on a couple times, but we couldn't make that work with his schedule and my schedule. We just couldn't get it to work. But, it was God's work there that, just the way we were like, oh, we need music. Oh, hey, how you doing? Oh, we have the same thing. Oh, you're a musician? It's just so weird how that all worked out.
It's wild.
Make sure you look for that episode. Mia, I'm sure she'll have some stories and some things to say about him. That'll be quite cool to hear. So make sure you look for that. I'll be posting that. I'll be filming that. I believe this next week. In the next couple days, I'll be filming it, and then I'll be posting it on December 26th, which was his birthday. That's what Mia wanted to do.
So he still got screwed over around Christmas.
Yep. Christmas birthdays are never fun, from what I understand. People who have Christmas birthdays have trouble, separating Christmas from their birthday.
Right.
Which I guess I can understand that.
Right. I think it'd be great if all my kids were, because then I'd just roll it all into one.
Yep. Yep. So yeah, he got screwed on that one. For sure. But, all right, you wanted to...
I'm good, man.
I think that's about everything, for this year. At least all the important stuff.
Yeah, I mean, we missed... There's so much happening.
Yeah, we can't cover everything.
You can't.
Yeah.
You'd have to have a 24-hour news cycle.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just...
We'd have to turn into CNN, and who wants that?
No.
We don't want to be CNN.
No. Our ratings are already bad.
Yeah. Exactly. That's why you need to share it out. So we can reach more people, get some more views, and continue to grow the podcast. So please share it out. That's what we need more than anything, is to share it out. So please share the content. Please share the episodes. If you do want to help support us further than that, go to our storefront, bonfire.com/store/The Boiling Point Podcast. The American Cross design T-shirt, and we have other designs as well: T-shirts, long sleeve shirts, sweatshirts, hoodies, hats, beanies, all of the above, and a grocery tote, and a coffee mug. And I put the cross on the coffee mug, so it's a new design on the coffee mug.
Oh, I wanted to point something out. A couple times on Facebook when John had posted that shirt, somebody had made a comment that it was defacing the American flag and gave all these rules. Well, what they don't understand is that it was a progressive lunatic, Woodrow Wilson, who started those rules, and then another progressive, FDR, kind of really firmed up those flag rules. But before that, it was very patriotic to come up with different variations of the flag and wear them at different, do different things with them. So it's just not historically accurate. It was made up by progressives. So we like freedom of expression, and I don't think it's disrespectful to at all to wear the flag and create different versions of it like that. It's actually just honoring the flag. We're honoring the things that matter to us. Our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ, who is the foundation of our country and who is the one who has blessed our country, and that without him we'd have nothing to hang our flag on. So
yeah, absolutely. Yes, we do mean it to honor the flag. Certainly not disrespect it. We are about honoring the flag. And yes, what Gavin said is right. Fuck Woodrow Wilson.
Yes.
So yes.
And FDR.
Yeah, and FDR. Fuck them all and everybody that looks like them. So make sure you share. Make sure you share it out. That will help us the most, is sharing our episodes so we can reach more people. We still have another episode or two before the end of the year, so or unless I decided to make this the last episode of the year, in which case you already watched those. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Merry Christmas.
Yes. And of course, the episode I just did with Pastor Gavin is You Can't Take Christ Out of Christmas. Make sure you check that episode out if you haven't seen it. And there's going to be a Simmer Down segment with Pastor Gavin where we are going to discuss not just gay Superman, but the fact that a lot of superheroes and a lot of things from our past are now getting rewritten to fit a new narrative.
Right.
Certainly an episode that you'll want to watch. Very entertaining, very informative, and I'm absolutely certain some people will consider it controversial because,
well, the truth always is.
That's what exactly.
When you live in a den of lies, the truth is always controversial.
Yes, and yes, and when seems like in today's world, anytime you bring God and His Word into conversations, it also becomes controversial.
Yeah, we had more attacks on my dad's segments, where we talked about the scripture from other Christians, than we have on some of the most controversial things I've said politically.
Yeah,
you bring God into it, and you start speaking from the scriptures. Oh man, you make everybody mad.
Yeah, you do,
and that's good. That means you're doing the right thing.
Yes,
and you're challenging people to think. At least they're engaging.
That's exactly right. That's what we want to do.
Because then you can engage back, and then they can think about that, and then the seed is planted. So.
Yep, and that's what we do. Anybody, and we respond to people who comment on our Facebook page and stuff. We respond to them. We're not rude. Well, I mean, if you deteriorate it, we'll answer in kind. But that's not what we start from.
You don't have to be rude to win an argument.
No, and we start out with informed debate. Looking to engage, not to attack.
Right.
But like I said, if you start it, we will answer in kind. We're not afraid of that either. So please share it out. That's what we need to grow the podcast, is to share episodes, the storefront. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube, and of course Rumble. You can find us on Rumble. That's where all our episodes are in their entirety. Look for the Simmer Down segment with Pastor Gavin coming up in the next day or two. Unless, of course, I decided to put this episode at the end of the year, in which case it's already been out. And if you haven't watched it, give it a watch. It's a great episode with Pastor Gavin. And while those are supposed to be only about 15 minutes, we ended up going almost half an hour on that one. What can you do with Pastor Gavin? You know how we get off on topics. Senior political correspondent, Gavin Whitcomb Jr. I'm your host, JD, and that's the end.
Good evening.
I'm not around, have you found? I'm always on you.